Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're restarting our new season of TrapCar Podcast and I get I got a special guest, someone that I would say was a bit at the foundation of my stuff because I think when you accepted my invitation when I started, I was that gave me a push. So
Oh, thank you.
welcome back and
Thank you for having me again. Pleasure.
thanks
It's been
for
a few years.
yes, 2018 I think.
2019, I think.
2019. Yeah, it was before
Yeah, I think
COVID.
right at the beginning of 2019, I believe.
Man, how time flies.
Yeah, indeed.
Wow. So for people that are new to my channel, please remember to subscribe and press the bell button. If you want to see, we've got loads of new TrapCar podcasts coming out soon. I am restarting it because I really want to share with you lessons that I learned, people that have a story, people that are doing something in this world. And I really want to share with you my journey. And I'm going to start with a question that I think it suits you the best. How did you get interested in music industry?
Well, first I got interested in music actually. Was always a massive fan of music. And I was a big fan of technology. So I started by listening to music, recording cassettes. Then I moved on to wanting to start making some music. I originally bought a bass and a bass amp, made like a little garage band with some friends. That didn't really work out, and then I was looking through some magazines, see what other people were using. I discovered Kraftwerk. Was really interested how they make music. It looked very futuristic, very interesting. And then
When was this?
this is like I would say sometime in the 80s.
Okay.
Probably
So
the Kraftwerk is actually probably late 70s.
then was
And
proper new tech.
yeah, and then in the 80s I started really getting. That's when I bought my bass. I was a teenager. Because most of my band members were not as committed, and I discovered that with machines you could actually replace the band members. I decided to buy a drum machine and a sampler, and then discovered house music. This is like late 80s, just the beginning of the 90s, and started putting tracks together. And then that was kind of a normal evolution. Was always fascinated by sound. I took a sound engineering course. I wanted to be a sound engineer, but in Portugal was a very niche profession. Even back then, all around the world, it was still quite niche. And so decided to start my own studio, started recording local bands, starting to produce local bands, producing the first hip-hop record in Portugal.
Okay.
And then started making some dance floor edits, and then started to release stuff on my own, pressing white labels, going to record shops, trying to sell them, kind of emulating what was happening in the UK.
How long was this till you got to, because you got the number one
Yeah, I mean,
all around the
so
world?
I started really. My first release is back from '91, and then my number one was 2001. So it was like
So
10 years.
10 years.
10 years later, yeah.
So for people that want results quickly, that's not gonna happen. You need to work. I've
Yeah,
been
you need to own your craft, and you need to
You need to know and you
yeah,
need to be good. You need to master the things you're
yeah.
doing. So,
And then because there was no industry in Portugal, I also had to kind of take care of that side of the business. So we started a record label. We started a new band called Underground Son of Lisbon. That's kind of what put Lisbon and Portugal on the map, because we had a massive record called So Get Up, which is still sounds great today when I play it. And that kind of opened our international relationships. We started traveling, doing deals with labels all around the world, and then yeah,
You
came
lived the dream.
yeah, I was running a record label. Eventually, a startup that I had done in Portugal with my partner, with two other partners, ended up selling that business to a bigger label, and moved into to the UK in the late '90s. And then when I got here, I just restarted everything again. Uh,
From
activate-
scratch.
Yeah, from scratch. I mean,
Yeah,
I had business
no,
connections
yeah.
from my previous startup, so I set up I brought all my equipment in, because in those days it was all done with machines. It was actually not too far from here. It's a little bit further down that I started the studio.
Okay, so you see somehow
Yeah.
naturally
It was in Saffron Hill. It was the street, and it was a studio called Roundhouse Studios.
talking about and heading that way. I don't
Yeah.
know. This wasn't
This was my
planned.
route for many years going home, because I used to also live around the studio. I like
Okay.
to live close to the studio.
Yeah, I don't like commuting, man.
Yeah.
In this city is crazy. I don't know how people do that 1 hour and a half every day traveling.
Yeah.
You lose a day a week, a month, and
Yeah, it's true.
some a
So
year.
I still have the studio like 5 minute walk from the house now. But so from there I started a record label called Kismet Records. Started putting releases together.
Yeah, Kismet Records is.
Yeah, that's
It
still
was
my
big.
it's still my label. Yeah,
Okay.
it's where this the imprint I used to release my music.
So you still own it these days?
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
and
okay.
put some releases together. Moved into this studio, because first I was actually with all the equipment in a one-bedroom flat down in Pimlico, but we moved here to Clerkenwell,
Okay.
and from there put some releases together. Went to see a distributor that I had previous relationships with. He signed the label to distribute it, and we start putting releases out. So first one was, of course, Underground Sound of Lisbon with the lights. Then I had a collaboration with a really close friend of mine, Chris Coco. So we had a Coco Da Silva.
Coco Da Silva.
Yeah. Then the third one, I think it was Earth from the Four
Earth,
Elements.
yeah. Yes, that's the track
Yeah.
I had in the car
Yeah.
when we first met.
Yeah.
Earth.
That track is massive.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah. I mean, it's
To me,
the energy is incredible there. Just the sound quality for me is not incredible, because at the time I had a really poor digital desk that kind of wrecked all the sound. And that track actually started from a session back in the US. Then from the US came to Portugal, and I continued doing sessions there, and then came to the UK, and then I've kind of finished the track here in the UK. So that track actually probably has got like 4 years, 5 years in its, or even more. Might have actually 8 years in the making.
Wow.
And
So in a making,
like
I
from
mean-
the original kind of seed idea
okay.
all the way to actual release.
May I ask you something? You said seed idea, so I don't know the process of making a tune. So when you start from nothing, so
Yeah.
you have, I don't know, you have an idea,
Yeah.
as I have with the videos.
Mhm.
You stay at the desk. What is the first thing you do?
Well, let's put the idea down. So the idea might be
You write
something.
words, or
No, if it's lyrics, but most of the music I actually do is instrumentals. So I usually work with the top line writer. But it might start from playing with some machine, some synthesizer, some drum machine. It might come actually from listening to something, or some melody that comes to my head, or some.
so you put beats together on, like on a PC.
Yeah, there is
and
no-
you
there's
play
no, like,
around with it till.
Yeah, there is no kind of one way to get there.
Okay.
So it
Yeah, it's
depends.
creative.
Yeah.
Everything comes from your
And then
head.
sometimes that, and so I'll put the sketch down and usually forget that and move on to another one. And then eventually
You come back
I'll
sometime.
revisit and decide, oh, this is nice. Maybe I'll move this forward.
Okay.
So
So we're working at more. Yeah, I mean it's somehow the way our brain functions. It's like if you don't have an answer now, you move away.
Yeah.
You start something, you do something else, and maybe in 2 3 days, that subconscious, even if we're not conscious about it, it's still working at that to
Yeah.
solve the problem.
Yeah. So, yeah, from there, I mean, for example, now I'm going through a lot of music to release, and
Yeah, I saw something recently.
I've started releasing music again because for many years I was kind of focused on working on other people's material and not really on my own solo stuff. And I'm looking through music that I've written back in 2010 all the way to 2018, and I'm just finishing them
So you
and
still
putting them
have
out. So
unfinished stuff
yeah,
there, because
yeah.
yeah, I think managing time, doing, because
I mean, so many
you have a
most
studio, yeah,
yeah, most
yeah,
of the tracks I forgot about them, and then I go through my folders and I find them, and I thought, wow, this actually sounds quite good. So I will want to kind of try to update it a little bit to finish because as you evolve as a artist, you hopefully you will always be a little bit more embarrassed of your old work, which means that you're growing.
yes,
So it's always like, oh wow, I didn't really know what I was doing on this sound or on that, and then you kind of update it and make it a little bit more better.
yes, and I strongly advise you guys, do it, do it, do it. Believe in yourself. You don't know what you're doing. Obviously, people that say they know, they don't. They just tackling, they just discovering, they just learning. How have you seen the music industry evolving during the years?
Yeah, I mean it's changed dramatically. First, there was kind of like a set path for the genre of music that you were doing. In my case, electronic music. There was kind of a path that you would follow to make the music arrive at the record shop, and then at DJ's hands. For example, you would go to the Winter Music Conference, which is now in a few weeks in Miami, and you would take a bunch of vinyl and give it to the right DJs. Everybody would meet there.
You going?
I don't know. Probably. At the moment, I don't know, but it is a possibility.
Okay.
And
So it's a
today,
big meeting
yeah,
where
meeting up, but now it's just one of the possibilities of trying to break a record. You can do the same in Ibiza. You can do the same with a video on TikTok. You can do the same with an Instagram
yeah, things changed.
viral thing. So the avenues to actually have a successful record have become multiple.
Okay.
You know,
Yes.
and the industry is much more mature. Now there is an history that you can look back to when we were kind of pioneers. The only dance music that existed at the time was pretty much disco
Yeah, disco.
or stuff done with
And you had to take the
traditional
sample
instruments.
and to travel to people's doors and to
Yeah, it was very different. We had to press the acetates, which would cost like £40, 30, £50 each one to give to the DJ. So on Friday we would go to the cutting room, try to cut some of the new tracks we had, and then go and try to find a DJ
to play it.
Yeah, so perhaps they would play. And
Okay.
then we had to mail the records. Today it's a totally different. I mean, it's very different. First, the tools to actually make music have become more democratized. So most people can have, if they got access to a computer, they can put together a track. You can even put together a track with your phone.
Yes.
So
I played a bit with that, but still sounded like crap. So
well, you need to do many. As I said, quantity will breed quality, and so those barriers are gone. There was, and then after that, there was a kind of a monetary barrier of you releasing records on vinyl, because you would have to invest some capital to put the record out, and if you did that a couple of times and the records were no good, they would go nowhere, and you would run out of funds to continue doing that.
it's the same with short films now. So we had a lecturer the other day, a guy that signed with a big label from LA, and he's one of the. So I have to make a short film now. I need actors, I need to cast, and
Yeah.
this guy said he's doing it for like 11 years. He's invested a lot, so he's paid he paid for all the work, all the so he had some film at sent out to festivals and won uh, a really nice place. This is the way he got signed with this
Okay.
LA agent, but he's invested a lot, and it's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
But if you have the passion and you strongly believe in what you're doing, you don't care about the money.
Yeah.
You would do anything you can just to push your work out there so
Yeah.
people can see it. And uh, yeah, in these days, as you said,
Yeah, that's
there.
Saffron Hill. This
Okay.
is the road of the studio.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Man. Oh yes, yes, yes. I know where we are. Okay. Uh, g- Going back, it's
Mhm.
like even look at AI.
Hmm.
Are there any particular AI technologies that you experience? I'm not saying
Yeah, I think
discovering.
yeah, that I've been playing a lot with all these large language modules. I think I call it artificial intelligence is more of a marketing misnomer because it's not really artificial intelligence. It's just really large language models that are predicting outputs. So
Okay.
there's nothing really intelligent inside it. This is just a decoy for people to.
Data put together and
Yeah, you could, like, for example, ChatGPT. You could think of it as autocorrect on steroids. So it actually predicts what will be the next word, and
autocorrect on
and
steroids.
uses a very intelligent algorithm. I think it's called Transformer. There's a white paper that was written a few years ago, which is the foundation of all this AI. You know.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
really,
AI is a kind
really
of
is
more.
like it's trained large language modules which have been trained and then had some human input, and they then relearn by themselves.
Yes, through what the input is,
Yeah.
it saves it and it keeps
And
growing.
the same thing happens with image. Image is actually a very interesting way that the image gets created. So the AI is, so basically you train an algorithm to recognize a picture of a cat, and what is a cat and what is not a cat, and then you start from if you use Photoshop, you start from a kind of white noise picture, like all gray.
Yes.
It looks like an old TV set that is not tuned. You know?
Okay.
And then from there you start putting filters and filters and filters and approximating until you actually end up with the output of a cat. But it's all based on
Computing
yeah,
power.
it's all based on a training. So there's been these large data sets where you train the algorithm, the large language model to understand what is a cat.
Yes, yes,
And,
yes.
I mean,
Yes, because firstly you have to do that.
it still doesn't go to the detail of getting some of the more detailed features like the hands, the fingers, sometimes the eyes. There's a lot of things that still gets wrong because it doesn't understand the context. So he puts it in a wrong way, and you know that but there's great results that you can achieve, especially in
Do you think
artwork like
helps?
paintings, and many times gets everything wrong. That's the other thing because
Yes,
it's just,
because it's
just
still
that is
in the
a
first
blatantly
phase.
that's a blatant evidence that it's not really artificial intelligence. It's just a large language model, which has been branded artificial intelligence.
Do you think with this Web3 thing and the speeding of the like they try and fasten the communication, the internet, you think it's gonna become better? It should.
Yeah,
It
I
should.
think it's the revolution has started, and most people are not aware of it. Um, the Web3 is coming, and it's going to be enabled by IPv6, which enables peer-to-peer IPv6, which is the
Okay.
next step from IPv4, which is what we use currently
Uh-huh.
to talk between machines, and it's going to enable a new world of where you can be in charge of your own privacy, and Web3 will be challenging Silicon Valley and their business model.
Wow. Yes, man. sometimes when I think of this, is just mind blowing. I sometimes read things and I have to go and reread again and again because my head can't comprehend. It's so much. It's so waste.
Yeah.
Wow. We live in a time where I don't know. It's kind of impossible to figure out what's coming because it's
Well, it's
we're not sufficiently evolved.
what's
I
coming
think.
is the big revolution is micropayments. The big revolution is the discovery of or the invention of the blockchain technology by Dr. Craig Wright, which better known as Satoshi Nakamoto,
Satoshi Nakamoto.
and was currently in the process of scaling the technology from a minimal viable product that he released in 2009 to an enterprise level that is being implemented inside the IPv6, which enables a very old error code that existed in protocol of the internet, because everybody knows the error 404 page not found.
Yes,
There's an error 403 payment not done. That was never enabled because there was no technology that would
behind
allow micropayments to exist on the internet, and that's kind of why, for people who've been around since before the internet, when there was bulletin boards and dial-up, before there was peer-to-peer with the internet.
Dial-up, yes. Connecting.
A lot of people will remember that when the internet started coming away from the universities and into the commercial side of it, that most businesses were struggling to find out exactly what their business model were, and because they did not know, they couldn't pay, they couldn't charge people because nobody would pay. It was not the technology was not in place to be able to do micropayments, so it was impossible to for that to actually develop, and so we end up in a business model where our attention has been commoditized and it's been used to make all these companies gigantic juggernauts, which make millions on the back of billions,
Yeah,
on the back of their users' attention. And that is changing. This attention economy is what is going to be seriously disrupted by Web3 and micropayments technology. And there's a tremendous pushback from the incumbents to make sure that doesn't happen. Where Dr. Wright, for example, is victim of a massive disinformation campaign.
So you think he's Satoshi
Nakamoto
because they try and
without any doubt,
confuse people.
if you look at his work, if you read his writings, if you follow his work and you see his academic achievements, is without any question, any person with a little bit of attention and that does not delegate their critical thinking to third parties will come to that conclusion within a couple of hours.
Okay. Yes, because it's kind of a topic lately, especially in all this
I mean, unfortunately,
new world.
Yeah, unfortunately,
of crypto
blockchain
and
technology.
blockchain.
Yeah, blockchain technology allows us to move from an internet of sending information to an internet where you've got scarcity and you can actually send value. So that has attracted mostly criminals and crooks into the space as early adopters, and we still got all of them around. I mean, the crypto industry is a gigantic Ponzi scheme that sooner or later will collapse as a house of cards. It started collapsing, but it will collapse further. And
Do you
in
think
the end, there's going to be one blockchain that will exist in the world, because that will be the only way that we will actually progress to a world where we can all trade amongst each other's without creating a replication of the old world, where you have different silos that don't communicate with each other.
Okay, I'm a bit confused now here. You lost me. So this is the.
This is Bitcoin SV. It's the technology that is being implemented inside IPv6, and that will enable a myriad of new services and technologies that are not possible until micropayments are in place.
So this Bitcoin SV. So I know about so Bitcoin and Bitcoin. So I know it's the protocol and the
Yeah, well, BTC is what people believe to be Bitcoin, but actually has got no resemblance from the original, the code that Dr. Wright released as Satoshi Nakamoto in 2009 has been Frankensteined into something that does not resemble the most basic rules. As a protocol that changes on a weekly basis,
yes.
and because of that, most serious developers who are actually developing technology on top of the blockchain end up choosing to go and build it on BSV instead of building on BTC. First, BTC cannot handle any of that
Yeah, it's too slow.
technology. It's
Is it too slow?
It's
Comparing
yeah, it's
to-
very slow because it only processes 6 transactions a second, while the other one is already processing 50,000, and is aiming to process this year up to 1 million transactions a second.
There is an EGLD. This now it's changed the name in Multiverse.
Mm.
It's a coin.
Okay.
It has, I think, something to do with Romania.
Mm-hmm.
That's again. That I think they honor 20,000 transactions. They said they can do 20,000 transactions.
I don't know. I think most of it is, if not all of it. I mean, there's good talent developing stuff in a lot of these cryptocurrencies, and most all of them are really Ponzi schemes when you seriously look into them.
If you dig,
Yeah.
which most majority of
Yeah.
us we're not really doing, we just go with the crowd, go with the flow, and there would be a few people that would benefit massively and already doing it from that. I don't know. I have to do my own research.
But you can start by reading Dr. Wright's, which is craigwright.net blog, and then you can take it from there.
Okay, so it's a good source of
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
Do you think so? All this tech now they try and embed into it videos you can add attached to music to Bitcoin or to is it
You can you can use the protocol to build.
to store or to
You don't need to store.
authenticize?
You can store it. You can store an hash. This gets very technical. You can store an hash of the actual file on a chain, but you don't necessarily need to be storing a large file on the chain. That will be. But you can build technology on top of it, and other layers that will enable to. So the Bitcoin will only be serving as timestamp, as evidence of that event actually
as
happened.
its
Yeah.
authenticity.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I like it. I just started to.
We have to understand that
Crack
we
it.
will not have a world of multiple blockchains. We'll have a world of one blockchain, like we only have a world of one internet.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning, we only have one protocol on internet, which is TCP/IP. We don't have competing protocols. And back at early times of the internet, we had other protocols that were trying to. We had AOL was trying to do a private protocol, and it
AOL.
was very successful. I still have my AOL email, and I used to use AOL, and I could log in anywhere in the world to the internet with no issues on dial-up, but that disappeared.
Yeah.
So the same will happen to all these blockchains. They will all either end up running as the secondary layers on top of BSV because it's the only protocol that is scaling to actually accommodate all these technologies, and it's got already technology built where any developer has written code on, for example, the Ethereum network can actually run the code as a layer on top of BSV. So there will be only one blockchain, and that's the only way that we will see this technology
'cause
be
the
adopted. If it's not like
changing,
that,
it's
there will be no blockchain is the wrong technology. You know,
yeah, and someone has to come with a better
something else.
solution.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
'cause
at the moment there is nothing else. There's really only one chain.
so do you think in the decentralization? You do,
Centralization is actually not what these crypto anarchists that have taken over the BTC protocol believe it is. It's not you running a read-only node on your Raspberry Pi. Decentralization is pushing the network to the extremities, so you communicate I communicate directly with you.
yeah.
That's
So we don't need the third,
yeah.
with the
And that's
third
what
party.
IPv6 enables. IPv6 enables me to start talking to you and create a direct connection.
So
where
it
there
solved the problem.
Yeah, there is. Well, it solves the problem of security. It solves the problem of privacy, because IPv6 enables you to each one of us to have billions of addresses. So we don't even need to so I can have I can have my own identity, which then is linked to all these addresses. Which some addresses might be my car, another one might be my phone, another one might be my toothbrush, another one might be my fridge. I mean,
Yeah, like what we have now, but it's
and
not.
each address, and each of them can actually never even reuse the address.
Okay.
So
it can
the likelihood of
redo
you
new-
ever finding ever actually finding
the old address.
to find who this address belongs to, it will be impossible. And this is all being enabled with IPv6, and this is all being enabled by blockchain technology, which is the only protocol that scales is the original one, which is Bitcoin SV.
So yeah, I looked a bit that up. You can buy.
You can buy the token, but
there is the token.
yeah, there is.
yes.
Of course, there's a token. It's the same as 21 million.
Is it
It's
owned-
the original protocol.
It
goes all the
owned
way
by
back.
them. So this blockchain
Yeah,
uses the token.
uses Bitcoin. It's called Bitcoin SV. It's
Yeah,
21 million.
Yes.
Um,
So BTC is different from this.
BTC is
BTC is
a
another-
fork. It's a fork that
Okay.
has changed the original code, which has got a fiat value higher than the BSV.
Yes.
But the fiat value of the token is irrelevant for what the technology can do. What matters is how many transactions does the technology process a second, and how much each transaction costs. That is what brings
Yeah,
enterprise interest onto using the technology and starting to actually resolve real world solutions, problems.
Issues, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And eventually they have to solve all these issues. You an artist and a creator, definitely. Do you think AI and all this tech can open new ways of creating?
Oh yes, without any doubt. I mean, the same way that autocorrect helped you writing without. Oh, actually, that's the entrance for the studio there, and that's Saffron Hill.
Okay.
So the entrance of the studio was there.
Okay.
It's now a block of flats, and I used to live on this road, and the main entrance for the studio was here, on the left.
Man, I don't know how I managed to do it, but
So I
it's
used
just
to live in that building
coincidence.
called the Ziggurat, and here, which says office to let. This was
Yeah,
the
Ziggurat.
studio where I did Touch Me.
Touch me.
Here. in
Wow.
This building here, 94, Saffron Hill. Yeah. That was the door. And then the studio was, my studio upstairs was upstairs. And I used to live here
Oh yeah,
in
which
this
is
building, and it was at the top there, with that building up
a
there.
penthouse.
Yeah, I think it
You
was
had-
5th or 6th floor. No, it
No.
wasn't the penthouse. It was a nice loft. That was the entrance.
Okay. Yeah, I managed to
Got
take
a
you.
porter
I
and
managed to
everything.
take you to
It was
this,
cool.
man.
This was our local pub here on the left, coming up.
You're still coming around sometimes.
No, I've not been here for many years. probably hat and turn.
Okay. Yeah, I know the pub. Okay, so creativity definitely changes because it can come up quickly with, you have to brainstorm for that.
Mm-hmm.
And when you ask, let's say with this chat GPT thing, when you ask to do something, if you ask it differently, it would
Mm-hmm.
give you a different output.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really based on, in a way, how do they do this? Because I've tried it and it never gave me the same. It never gave me the same answer.
Because
I think it's a
a
system.
prediction model. So, I mean, it's great for many things. It speeds up a lot of your work
Yes,
in
definitely.
in many ways. But you have to treat it not as the final output, but as a raw input. So you look at it as a raw input, and then you use that as your foundation.
So something that you still need to adjust.
Yeah, you need to.
It gives you the core.
Yeah, it gives you
a bit-
kind of like, okay, this is an idea now. Can I use this idea? Do I need a new idea,
yes.
or
it's
can I
still-
use bits of this idea to bring into my idea? Does this open me a different idea that I didn't think about? So
Loads of students thought they made it, when they've heard about Common, but you still can't use it because there is an AI detector at
Yeah.
uni that
yeah, it's
that-
very easy to detect.
so it's don't use it. I mean, use it, but combine it, and definitely it's gonna save you time. 'Cause
Yeah.
it did in my case.
Yeah, it's saving
saving
me
a bit
time
of
on many things. I mean, if you want to like come up with a title for something,
Yeah, I'll
or
just give them like
for,
give me
for
10
marketing,
titles.
for marketing is great. For short text is great. For creating small stories,
Small
creating
thing,
replies, because it can be pretty
Yeah.
informal. For example, replies to emails, it can be pretty informal, and it gives you some
A nice formal way of
yeah,
yes,
where
yes,
you've
yes.
it's just
Which
yeah,
is a bit of help.
it helps you a lot in many things. Yeah, but it's not artificial intelligence.
It just they made this fussy
Yeah.
name to sell it.
I think
better.
as the we get used to this technology, and this year is going to be massive for this technology. As it progresses, we're going to understand that it's a little bit like when digital first arrived. We thought it was fantastic digital cameras, and then we realized actually it's not as good as an analog photo, and now it is because digital has gone so far. So eventually, yeah, we'll arrive at a stage that we be very difficult to distinguish between a large language module and a real world. But
And
at the
the real.
moment, we're still a little bit like, oh wow. Well, like when the first samplers appeared, and we thought, oh, this sounds like an orchestra, and then we realized actually no,
It's not.
an
Yeah.
orchestra is so much more rich than this. So
Yeah, and
I think we will. This is kind of like an early stage of this artificial intelligence kind of technology.
but at this because it's going incredibly fast. Everything now.
Yeah, of
Even
course.
if it doesn't really seem.
Of course, because of the power
things
of the
changing,
internet,
but
anything that is actually at its major advancement in technology gets adopted worldwide at a speed that is just incredible. I mean, this is what we.
this is what they try.
This is what
Yeah,
is going to
yeah.
happen with blockchain very soon, because there's a lot of work being done behind the scenes of people building serious solutions on top of blockchain.
I bet Google is working.
I mean, they don't
their
have
Web3
any.
thing and-
Google has got no interest in seeing a business model where the ownership
Yeah, it's
of the
stupid, yeah.
data becomes owned by the individual. Their business model is actually to control a silo of data.
What you
Yeah.
see, yes. And
So-
for them, they might try and boycott it.
There's lots of court cases going on trying to shut down the whole Bitcoin project, which trying to really shut down Chain, which is the main business of the main company of Dr. Craig Wright.
the nodes, the Bitcoin
No, the
client.
develop the company that's actually in the process of scaling and developing the protocol further. Um,
So all this, let's say, I've read this, the 15,000 computers used as nodes.
but there are no
Mm.
nodes because if for anybody who really understands, that's not a node. That's just like a read only node. That's like you knowing. Okay, I want to know what happened, but I don't have any um, say in this. You can't do anything
Yeah,
because
but you can't erase them all. You can't delete it. You can't really stop it, even if, let's say,
if you disagree with what with the nodes are actually the people who write. The only nodes that matter in the blockchain is the nodes that write the transactions on, write the blocks.
so not
And
the ones that the
in BTC
store.
currently there's 17 nodes. Those are the ones who write blocks. The other ones do nothing, because the agreement is between the nodes that write blocks. So
Yes.
and if you understand how the protocol works, you find a block, you put those transactions onto the block, and
Yes.
it gets approved by the
It
other
gets
blocks
by the
when they
other.
write a new block.
Yes. Yes.
So if your node only reads and doesn't write blocks, you can't do anything. You just
Okay.
need to follow the longest chain. So this is the big decoy that exists in the BTC world. There are people that I do have still run a Raspberry Pi with a BTC protocol, and it doesn't
What's a
do anything.
Raspberry Pi?
Raspberry Pi is a tiny computer that costs £30.
So what do you do with it?
You can run software. It's like having a little computer. It's nice for development and for creating prototypes. And it's these 15,000 nodes that people talk about on BTC.
Yes.
They are run on Raspberry Pis. And actually,
So they're not in
after
people's
some
computer.
research done by Dr. Wright, probably more than half of them are actually run through Amazon AWS servers by the company that is behind the development of the BTC protocol, which is Blockstream, which is actually an interesting name because they are blocking the stream of transactions.
Okay.
So they can actually sell their secondary solutions of scaling, which until the day of today they have not been able to actually make it work.
Yes, because it's huge. It's complicated.
Yeah, it's very complicated. It's it gets very technical, very complicated.
and
But,
very large numbers
But in the end,
of
the best technology will prevail.
calculations.
And there is no other solution.
So BSV.
Yeah,
That's the
that's the ticker for the Bitcoin protocol.
and the blockchain that's gonna, let's say, remain is gonna, do you think is gonna substitute the financial system as well, and the way we
No, it's
pay
not going to
and-
substitute. It's going to be used as a layer for. Currently, if you do understand, for example, if you do understand how our in inter borders settlements happen of money remittances, you know that what we have currently is a system where you send a message and then the settlement, final settlement actually happens between many banks after a course of several days. So if you send money back
Yes,
home
yes.
to Romania, you pay 6%
Yeah.
on average, and the money. So either you use someone like TransferWise, which have to have liquidity on both sides of the transaction to be able to settle
I do
quick.
Revolut.
Yeah, they do a similar system.
Yeah, yes.
Or but
Behind
eventually
the
they need to settle it through corresponding banks. Takes a long time. Every bank takes his cut because they need to be protected for the fluctuations on exchange rates, and the transactions are slow. They take several days for final settlement, and they cost 6%.
which is ridiculous
Yeah.
in these days.
With blockchain technology, which is currently being developed, the solutions are being developed. The developers that are serious about trying to resolve these problems in the banking, they are not looking at any other blockchain because all the other protocols change on a weekly basis. So you can't really build your software because then you need to rewrite the software again.
Again and again.
Or they've got no real world use. So they are building stuff on Bitcoin SV.
I'm very curious.
And,
What would be in 5 years?
with a
Honestly.
technology that will enable you millions of transactions. Currently, the top technology, I believe, for that is being explored as a private blockchain solution from banks is called R3.
Are
And
free.
yeah, and but that will all, there's a couple of competing technologies that exist at the moment that are being tried by several banks, but you're always going to end up in the same situation. Different private blockchains that don't interact with each other, and you're still going to end up not having
Solution.
finality.
Oh yes.
And they all are not able to scale to the point that Bitcoin SV is scaling, which is millions of transactions a second.
Do you still is still gonna be the bull market thing and what they? Because
I don't know. I think that
It's still
I
gonna-
actually
it's still
think
gonna
everything
go
will.
for a
I
while.
think when people realize that the whole thing is a scam, I think all the tokens will collapse, including BSV.
including BSV
Yeah, because the value of it is irrelevant for you to use it as
as a currency.
as a mechanism to transfer value with final settlement, as opposed to a messaging system. So its value is not relevant. What's relevant is that you're able to use the technology and you've got protocols built on top of it, like where banks can issue central bank digital currencies, where they can do immediate settlements at billions of transactions that cost micro.
So
pennies.
we will use the same.
You still be using your traditional pounds
Yes.
and dollars, and underneath it you got this technology that enables the transfer of value. I mean, how many people know how TCP/IP works to book their Uber?
Yeah.
It's not. It's
They
irrelevant.
don't. And it's exactly. It's like you don't really need that, and it doesn't really. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really change anything if you
No.
know. No, you still do your thing. You get your Uber, and that's it. Wow.
I mean, the blockchain technology will enable you to be your own Uber, and you get the money directly from your customer. There is no central authority that is a third party that is actually taking a cut. You want to be a Uber, you download the app,
Yes.
and it costs micro pennies to run it.
And who manages this? Who manages the app? Who's gonna make the money?
You'll make the money, and the developers, they'll be, because
Developers
the
as well.
developers will be able to bring the costs down, because you don't have a massive infrastructure.
So how? I mean, I'm just referring as Uber for a name and
Mhm.
for people to understand. How will Uber earn something then? Is gonna, because if I can deal directly with the customer, there is no Uber.
You can you as a software
How-
developer can create a Uber
Okay, I
application.
understand. So it's still gonna
And you
be
create the app-
people behind it.
You
and
create the application, and you put the application on the App Store, and the application allows me and you to trade directly with no
so why
with
would
final
they do that?
settlement.
Why would they do that?
Why
And
would
keep-
why would they not do that? Because
Because of money.
for example, if they I don't know how much Uber takes as a cut. Let's call it 20%.
35, 40.
35. Okay. If I'm a software developer, I can assemble a team very quickly using blockchain technology. The app looks exactly the same, but instead of 30%, it's going to be 3%.
And they're gonna die next day.
Exactly.
Because I think, yes. But
And you get
Are-
final settlement. So
are
as soon
they-
as I get out of the car, the money's in your wallet.
are they not developing something like this?
No, because
they might
it
be.
goes against their business model. It's a totally different business model.
So they might, because my idea would be they're already working at something like this, and they just charging people enormously, and we might using a bit of that
I
technology.
mean,
these days.
it's a little bit like the carriage with a horse trying to still fight the car.
Yeah, 'cause,
You
yeah,
can't.
You can't. So it's
You
just gonna be. It's a matter
Perhaps
of
people who
time
are
to-
smart inside these businesses will start developing something that will actually cannibalize their original business. But the reality is that this sort of technology that enables peer-to-peer
Yeah, peer-to-peer
transactions with no
third party.
third party. Nobody
Third
knows.
party.
I mean, you don't need to know my name. You don't need to know anything. All you need to know is that I booked a cab and we exchange. I use an address for it. Use an address for it. Next time we use a different address to do the transaction. So
Which is
you
the
never
one
know.
that you said that
yeah,
there's
millions
gonna
of
be
transactions.
loads of addresses which they irrelevant as well. Sounds promising. Future
Yeah.
sounds
It's several years away.
better.
It's several years away, but it's coming, and people don't understand what's
Because it's
what's
hard to
arriving.
see now.
Because IPv6 has been in development, I think, for like 20 years, something like that, and
Okay.
it's already pretty much everywhere. But most places still use IPv4, which means you have an address, and then whoever your ISP will then know that you're basically behind a private network.
Mhm.
So it's like there's a security threat.
Okay. And they way safer because it's impossible to identify. Those
Yeah, it's
transactions
impossible.
that's gone is like
You can't. You want it. There'll be the security model of IPv6 will stop all the known security issues that we have these days of that data breaches and people taking over systems.
Would you want to finish it?
Which you need if you want to enable Internet of Things. You're going to need billions of addresses. If you want to think that the world will be full of sensors, all the sensors need to be writing the data onto a blockchain to have a log of traceability and notarization of all the devices. So those need to be authenticated. They need to be private, and you need to. If you think of a world with 8 billion Internet of Things devices that are writing once an hour, we're talking about billions of transactions every day.
Yeah, and it's like so. It's gonna be the same with scammers. They're gonna be very hard for people to identify scam transactions. So this is something that I think it's still.
That's why the banks eventually will adopt all this technology. Once they've sandboxed it for several years, they will move on to a technology like this, because it will cut the Central Bank of Europe has come with a study that realized blockchain technology will cut the costs of transactions by 80%.
Yes, which is
which is a lot.
money, huge.
They are not looking at the technology because nobody is showing them billions and billions of transactions a second on a protocol that is set in stone, that does not change. Because those are two fundamental things. You need extremely low costs and a gigantic throughput of transactions.
Which slowly,
Yeah.
we get in there.
But technology is being developed as we speak, so
Yeah.
it will be unveiled to the world, and that will be a ChatGPT moment.
I will take you back to music if you don't mind.
Yes.
Because
I think it's better to talk music. Otherwise,
I mean,
people will just get
it's-
their brains boom.
Exactly. I was so even when because I said I got a bit to understand it, and I do bits and I stop and I let it, and after I'm getting back and I need time to comprehend it. So Rui, what have been some of the most successful things you worked on as a sound engineer, and if you can give some tips
I mean,
to people, if it's no secret?
well, some tips. What can I say? Most successful, of course, Touch Me is a big success. I was the engineer on that. I've worked on many projects back in Portugal that were very interesting. People probably don't know the names. And here in the UK, I work with some artists. Most of them I've got confidentiality, so I can't really say who they are.
You
I mean,
worked
my
in the
advice.
film.
I've worked in film as well. A couple of things. I've done a couple of soundtracks, but not that much stuff. My advice would be for you to aim at finding a mentor or someone that you can hire, that you can reach out to, that is high up from you,
Okay.
that helps you bring your productions to a different level. I've got a lot of clients. They start their projects in their laptops and they come to the studio, or we do remote sessions, which now with technology, I think
Can people reach you up
yeah,
for this?
most of my clients are actually all around the world, and they reach out to me. We share the screen, we share the audio, we're on video.
Yes, yes, yes.
So they're in their studio listening to in their monitors or headphones, depends where if they're traveling or not. I'm in my studio, and we are working like if you're in the same room. So we're sharing the screen, they're watching the production. Can be their computer, can be my computer, depends on exactly what the detail of the production is. And I mean, it's most people's they need help finishing their stuff.
Yes, because it's
And
complicated.
yeah, the
and
sessions are shorter usually when it's in-person session, because people travel and there's a larger effort to come and see me. Those sessions usually last 4 hours. The online sessions, they last 2 hours, and I mean, with the amount of years of production, I work fast. So
yeah,
all
yeah.
we
Even
need,
if
all we
they,
need is a good internet connection, and from all sorts of levels of skill, from people who are starting, from people who are unsure about what's wrong in their production, from people who need help with the arrangements, from people who need coaching about their career. I mean, people can reach to me anyway. I mean, from all social medias. I'm
do
the
you
one.
work with the rappers as well?
Yeah,
You-
my son works with rappers. He is actually right inside the hip hop scene in the UK.
Okay. So
And,
is he producing?
Yeah, he's producing and engineering.
Okay.
He works around many studios around London, and they just dropped a hip hop mixtape recently from an artist called The Only One,
The only one.
and that's on Spotify. And they've got cool videos going on. Yeah, mostly I work with electronic for
You are
pop.
okay. This
Actually,
is your
even indie pop. I'm working at the moment. Working very interesting band from Glasgow.
okay.
So it is this. Yeah, people can reach out to me. I run all my social media, so
Yes, I'm gonna let you.
yeah. So it's
all
not
the
that
links.
difficult to find me. And yeah, I'm very. Just one of the things I really like is to be able to pass my knowledge into into a new generation and to people who need help. I also look sometimes to have my own mentor and my own coaching on many aspects in my own productions, in my own
Yeah, that
work.
would help me as well.
So I think this is something that even like going back to micropayments, once we do peer-to-peer, be able to do micro gigs where instead of having to book 2 hours, you can book 10 minutes. Currently, you can't do that because the payment technology does not allow you with fees. But I think that will change.
What techniques do you use, and what level of sound quality your clients should expect from you if working with you?
What equipment?
I mean, what techniques? What is the level of quality people
I mean,
should
is
expect from working with you?
I think I would say it's
I mean, your name answers.
I say it's
question.
high quality is release is like release level quality. So you'll end up with a production that is ready to be released
So
as an artist. Yeah.
Finished
Yeah.
product, like top level.
Totally finished and ready to be released.
And do you have any advice for new DJs or producers that starting out? You wish you knew when you started?
I mean, today is very different. I would say try to find your own style, but the more music you create, the more you will improve your skill. So I would
So
say.
like, don't worry if you're
Yeah,
not
keep
good
keep
when you
producing it.
start.
I mean, these days, the barrier to release music has disappeared with technology. So before, you'd have to invest money in machines, then you would have to invest money in in the actual release by creating stock like vinyl. Today, it's you can release music with just having a computer. So all you need to do is really invest a computer. Most of the time, any household in many most households in the Western world have got a computer somehow. So you don't even need a massively powered computer to start making music, and then you can easily log into a distributor online and put your music everywhere. So the challenge now is actually to be noticed, and you can only
Yeah, that's the
to be noticed. You need to. There's so much music, so much stuff out there. You need to have a consistent stream of high quality releases and continually be releasing them and find your own community and be active in
where
that
the
community.
challenge is.
Wherever your community is, might be on Reddit, might be on Instagram, might be on TikTok, might be on SoundCloud, might be on Bandcamp. I don't think necessarily you need to be in all of them to start with.
Okay.
You need to find where people engage with you, and then find
Eventually.
your tribe, and develop relationships, because in the end you still gonna need kind of relationships with other people.
Guys, strongly advise you to follow your dreams. To if you believe in something, just just do it. You learn. It's fun. I don't know. It's something that keeps you on the move. It's something that gives you meaning, and it's opening doors. It you meet people. You evolving, which is a very essential of our creation. So, if you liked our chat, I would say, because this is like a nice, friendly chat driving around London. It's Sunday, weather is great.
Yeah.
Subscribe button and the bell, and all the best. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Take care, guys.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.